Corfu is still the Garden Isle of Greece. It delights with its natural beauty, its glorious beaches, its good food, and its choice of nightlife. Yet Corfu's rich heritage adds much more to the holiday experience with its dramatic history as a Mediterranean paradise shaped by Byzantine, Roman and Venetian cultures and by later French and British influences, a crossroads of East and West that has remained essentially Greek at heart. Many things outline the essential Corfu. There is, of course, the exquisite heat of summer and the crystal clear seas, but Corfu is an all-year-round experience. The fragrance of orange blossom in winter and brilliant colours of wildflowers in spring and again in autumn. The excitement of a festival in Corfu town or in outlying villages. The soft chimes of sheep bells in mountain meadows. The hissing of cicadas in the heat and the musky scent of pine. Then there are the early mornings on the western beaches when the coolness of the night lingers in the sea air. Hushed afternoons in remote mountain villages. Pleasant evening strolls through Corfu town. The sweetness of a summer's dusk after a long day of sea and sun. Feasts of good traditional Greek food and wine in village tavernas. Above all, there is the charm of the Corfians, the people of the island, whose vibrant and colourful history has produced a friendly, cosmopolitan society in which the visitor is always made to feel at home. The magic of Corfu town is at its most potent, where the new and the old meet at Teotoki Square. Here you step into the bustle of a modern Greek town, into the arcaded, smoothly paved streets of medieval Italy, your way signposted by Greek street names, Greek churches, and by a sense of more variety to come. Soon you reach the famous Esplanade, its western edge framed by the arcaded Liston, a French tribute to the Parisian Rue de Rivoli. At the northern edge of the Esplanade stands the Palace of St. Michael and St. George, symbol of British neoclassicism. Beyond all this to the east, Byzantine Greece, represented in spirit by the mighty old fortress, whose Venetian walls stand on Corinthian foundations. Corfu town is thus east and west, ancient and modern, classic and exotic, a fascinating, exciting and endearing Mediterranean city with shops, cafes, restaurants, bars and tavernas, all suit all tastes. The church, dedicated to the Holy Mother of God, Iotissa, is one of the oldest and richest religious monuments on Corfu, built at the end of the 15th century. Since 1984, a rich collection of heirlooms and portable icons is on display in this church of Iotissa. The collection includes some important items by both known and anonymous artists, dating from the 15th to the 19th century, and thus gives a full picture of the religious and artistic output during this period on Corfu, as well as the intellectual movement more generally. Like the Ionian Islands, Corfu became a stopping point and place of residence for artists, mainly from the Cretan school, en route from Crete to Venice, particularly after Crete fell to the Ottoman Empire in 1669. This was the birth of the Japanese school. The original settlement of Corfu town was on the southern tip of the Canoni Peninsula to the south of the present town, and for centuries this was the commercial and cultural focus of island life. Then in the 6th century, a more hostile world emerged, and the citizens of the town, exhausted from savage barbarian raids, moved to the small Twin Peak Peninsula where the old fortress now stands. During the centuries that followed, a town developed outside the fortress, but within its own defensive walls. Later expansion saw Corfu town spread to the south and west to form an outer shell of suburbs that evolved into the residential and commercial district around San Rocco Square. What a gorgeous day to be here on the shores of the Ionian Sea, and 32 degrees on a Sunday morning. Well folks, after a very hot, severe and humid trek and clamber through forests and cliffs, I have arrived here at the remains of the Temple of Apollo. It's 34 degrees right now and it's so humid. The temple of Kardaki dates to the late Archaic era, around 500 BC, and is named after the nearby homonymous Kardaki water spring, as no proof has ever been found that the sanctuary had been dedicated to a particular god, despite being linked to Apollo and Poseidon. The temple's remains were discovered by accident in 1822 when British engineers were working on restoring the water supply from the Kardaki fountain to supply the navy with drinking water. The Temple of Kardaki has a Doric architectural style with some Ionic elements and a rather small plan of 12 by 25.5 meters. The temple has 6 pillars on each of its smaller sides and 12 on its longer sides. The building lacks a frieze, which distinguishes it from any other Doric temple. I'm here in a very large forest near Canoni Beach in Corfu, near Corfu Old Town. And the smells from the pines here, the odour from the pine trees is just beautiful. Well folks, we're here in the Corfu Old Harbour, and the beast behind me on the water is going to take us out to Paxos Island, an island that I want to go to for a long time. This morning the dream has been fulfilled. We've been on many adventures over our many years together. Today we have a first, as we travel on the Elida Dolphin, departing the wharf here at Corfu Old Port, and make our way down the Ionian Sea. The vessel before you was built in 1981. As I say, it's the Elida Dolphin. It's a high-speed hydrofoil. We've never been on a hydrofoil before. It travels at a very high speed as it lifts up out of the water and propels itself on these winglets on either side and at the rear of the vessel. An enjoyable, comfortable trip, though rather noisy when it gets up full power. So join us this morning very early as we head from Corfu Port out into the Ionian Sea and down to Paxos Island. The port of Gaios receives ferries, hydrophiles, the sea taxi and a hydroplane from Corfu, as well as its share of sailboats. Gaios is the capital of Paxos and the largest town on the island. It is still relatively small and quaint, with Venetian architecture, a maze of side streets and pedestrianised square on the seafront. Restaurants and snack bars are scattered throughout the town, and the surrounding olive groves of Gaios offering a high standard of local Greek cuisine, traditionally made pizza, pasta and souvlaki. Paxos is one of the least commercial Greek islands in the Ionian Sea. Paxos, or Paxi as it's called locally, is truly beautiful, with scenery that makes it an artist's paradise, with clear aquamarine sea and pebble beaches that have to be seen to be believed. The local people are so welcoming you feel at home straight away. This island has such a holdover people that I guarantee you during your stay you will meet more fellow holidaymakers that have been returning for years than first-time visitors. Paxos is only 7 miles long by 3 miles wide and can easily be explored by foot, bike, car or boat. On this occasion, we hired a car. The perfect place to wind down. Nothing to be done quickly here, just a walk to the beach that can seem to take forever by the time you sit down and have an iced coffee in one of the seafront cafes. Having driven this morning from Gaios to Laka in the north tip surrounding a large harbour where flotillas and gin palaces can be seen mooring. It has 2 main beaches with a beach taverna, and other beaches are accessible by foot over the west coast. Here there are 2 squares. The first you come on to on arriving in Laka, where all the locals congregate in the afternoon for a nouzo or Greek coffee and catch up on the local gossip. Folks, if you ever come to visit Paxos Island here on the Ionian Sea, hire yourself a car and drive up to Laka, Laka. This is probably one of the most beautiful villages that we have in our long lives ever visited, and we have visited some islands and some beautiful places, but this one would be number 1 on a high list of priorities if you're travelling to these parts. The island is Paxos and the village is called Laka. Unlike its bigger Ionian island neighbours, Corfu, Kefalonia and Zakynthos, Paxos doesn't have its own airport. It's a low-built island without big hotels, apartment complexes or mass tourism, and island life centres around just 3 small harbour towns. Paxos is a popular port of call for yachts, cruisers and flotillas sailing in the Ionian Islands. It's a haven for visitors looking for beautiful beaches, picturesque villages and private villas or small family-run hotels. You could also pair Paxos with Corfu for an easy 2-center villa holiday. As we walk along the pier here, the port, we're coming upon the location of the Netflix 3 seasons television series Maestro in Blue. It was filmed in 2022. It's about a musician who travels to the island of Paxos during the pandemic to set up a music festival. He begins a romance with a 19-year-old young lady and finds himself embroiled in other people's problems. There are 19 episodes in over 3 seasons. It's a beautifully filmed series, and I love visiting movie locations, and this one is no different. For those of you that watched the series on Netflix, Maestro in Blue, this is the school or the village hall location where they were practicing for the music festival. So as I've said, this is the hall, the village hall here in Lacca, which was the location, or one of the main locations, in the making of the Netflix series Maestro in Blue. It's 34 degrees here now in Lacca, and it's a gorgeous morning to be alive. So another movie location off the bucket list. There's a strong Venetian influence in Paxos. The Venetians arrived uninvited in the 1400s and ruled the Ionian Islands for centuries. They left their mark in the elegant buildings around the tiny harbours and in the thousands of ancient olive trees which cover the island of Paxos. These gnarled trunks are a hallmark of Paxos Island, lining the dusty little roads between the hamlets and framing enticing glimpses of sparkling blue sea. Nobody comes to Paxos for the shopping or the nightlife. There aren't any bustling beach resorts or big stores, and the handful of hotels are low-key and tucked away. Most people stay in villas, apartments, or on the boats they've sailed up in. Paxos Island is for slow living and simple pleasures with your favourite people. So, after a full day of adventure, driving, walking, hiking, eating and swimming in the Ionian Sea, we await our chariot to take us back from Paxos Island back up to Corfu. Folks, we're beginning to get ready to depart from my beloved and most favourite of all islands, Paxos, here in the Ionian Sea. 34 degrees, and the engines are started up and we're ready to hit the high seas. Because it's a jet foil, we'll only be skimming across the surface. So looking forward to the trip back to Corfu. The old fortress in Corfu is a Venetian fortress in the city of Corfu. The fortress covers the promontory which initially contained the old town of Corfu that had emerged during Byzantine times. Before the Venetian era, the promontory which lies between the Gulf of Kerkera to the north and Goritza Bay to the south was defended by Byzantine fortifications, which the Venetians largely replaced with fortifications of their own design. As part of their defensive plans, the Venetians separated the promontory from the rest of the city of Corfu by creating the Contrafossa, a moat which is a sea channel connecting the Gulf of Kerkera to the north with the Bay of Goritza to the south. The earliest indication of fortifications on the site presently occupied by the old fortress dates from around 6th century AD, after the destruction of the ancient city of Corcyra by the Ostrogoths. The Gothic invasion forced the Corsyrans to seek shelter inside the fortifications on the peninsula at the tip of the city. Following a hiatus where no political or military developments in the citadel are known between the 7th and the 10th centuries AD, the first report of renewed fortifications occurs in the early 11th century, when Anna Komnene refers to it as the very strongly fortified city of Corfu in her book, The Alexiad. The citadel features two peaks, which were fortified by strong towers for centuries. The western and higher peak, which is closer to the town, was fortified by the Byzantines around the 12th century AD and was called Castel a Terra, or Castle near the land, by the Venetians, who also called it Castel Nuovo, or Newcastle. The eastern peak was called Castel a Mare, Castle by the Sea, or Castel Vecchio, Old Castle, by the Venetians, and was also used as a powder magazine for a time. Following the Gothic invasion and until the 13th century, the medieval town of Corfu developed within the boundaries of the peninsula, which today is occupied by the old fortress. In the early 15th century, the Venetians started replacing the old Byzantine fortifications. Following the first siege of Corfu by the Ottomans in 1537, the Venetian governor ordered the destruction of new defensive zones, incorporating new bastions and towers which exist to this day. Venetian military engineers Savorgnan and Martinengo designed bastions for the fortress between 1545 and 1555, which are considered masterpieces of military engineering. As part of their defensive plans for the peninsula of the citadel and to secure its perimeter, the Venetians created the Contrafossa, a moat which transferred the citadel into an artificial island. The moat exists to this day and is still known to the locals under its Italian name. Since the creation of the Contrafossa, access to the citadel was by a drawbridge, which in modern times has been replaced by a permanent one. The fort successfully repulsed all three major Ottoman sieges: the Great Siege of 1537, the Siege of 1571, and the Second Great Siege of Corfu in 1716. In 1537, during the Third Ottoman-Venetian War, Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent dispatched a force of 25,000 men under the command of Admiral Hayreddin Barbarossa to attack Corfu. The Ottomans landed at Govina Bay, present-day Govia, and proceeded towards Corfu town, destroying the village of Potamos as they made their way towards the city. The old fort, Corfu city's only fortification during that period, and the castle of Angel o Castro were the only two places on the island not in the hands of the invaders at the time. In undefended parts of the island, people were killed or captured as slaves by the Sultan's army. Even at the old fortress, women, children and the elderly, called the Unitili useless by the Venetians, were turned away and left outside the fort to die or be enslaved. The rejection of the people at the gates angered the Corfuites, who lost faith in the effectiveness of Venice's defensive plans. The Corfu fortress was successfully defended by its garrison, as was Anglo Castro. As it was retreating from Corfu, the Ottoman army devastated the undefended areas of both Corfu city and the island. In total, about 20,000 people who were unable to find shelter in either castle were killed or carried off as slaves. The fortress was used at the end of World War II by the Nazis to imprison the Jews of Corfu prior to their deportation from the island. On the 8th of June 1944, the Jews of Corfu were told to present themselves the next morning at the old fort. When they heard the ultimatum, some Jewish people escaped to the countryside of Corfu, but most, fearing for their families, went the morning of the 9th of June to the old fort, as they had been told. There, the Nazis forced them to hand over their jewellery and keys to all their properties, and subsequently they were led to the prison inside the fortress. The incarceration of the Jews at the jail of the castle, under harsh conditions and without rudimentary amenities, lasted for days until finally they were transported to Lefkada, and then in succession to Patras, Piraeus and Haidari, after which 1,800 Corfu Jews were deported to Birkenau extermination camp via rail. Out of those who were forced to leave Corfu, 120 eventually returned. The fortress houses the public library of Corfu, which is located in the old British barracks. The fortress grounds are also used for various types of art and culture exhibits. And the Hellenic Music Research Lab of the Ionian University is also located at the old fortress. Okay folks, anybody here for pizza? We got one oven here, and if I reverse up the kitchen floor, you've got second oven here. The British Cemetery in Corfu is a historic and peaceful burial ground in Corfu town, established in 1814 during the British Protectorate of the Ionian Islands. It serves as a final resting place for soldiers, officials and civilians, and it is known for its serene atmosphere, landscape gardens and diverse flora including orchids and historical significance, with notable graves such as those from World War I, World War II and the Corfu Channel incident. The cemetery is maintained by the Commonwealth War Graves Commission and is open to the public during specific hours. The cemetery was established in 1814. It was founded to serve as a burial site for British officials and soldiers when Corfu was under British rule. The cemetery provides insight into British colonial life on the island of Corfu, with graves ranging from the 19th century to the 20th century. The cemetery here contains numerous military graves, including those from the two World Wars and the 1946 Corfu Channel incident. The island of Corfu was used during the First World War as a British and United States naval base. A convalescent camp and military hospital were also stationed there. In 1916, the island was used as a rest camp for the Serbian army. Corfu British Cemetery was opened as a British military cemetery in about 1855. When the Ionian Islands were in British hands. It contains 13 First World War burials and 16 Second World War burials. Those are mostly casualties from two destroyers mined in the Corfu Channel in October 1946. The cemetery continues to be used today for descendants of families who have stayed on the island of Corfu. When you walk around here amongst the tombstones and over the graves of heroes from the world wars, you'd ask yourself, what the bloody hell was it all about? And did we learn lessons? No. Corfu town is the capital of the Greek island of Corfu in the Ionian Sea. It's known for its cobblestone streets and pastel-coloured Venetian architecture. To the west, the Venetian-built new fortress has a network of tunnels underneath and views over the harbour. The 15th century old fortress overlooks the town from the east and features a small chapel and mosaics. The Esplanade is a landscaped park near the water. Old Corfu town's history dates back to the 8th century BC, with its strategic location leading to a fortified city built by the Venetians in the 14th century to defend against the Ottoman Empire. The town's unique architecture reflects centuries of rule by Venice, France and Britain, blending neoclassical and Venetian elements with British additions like the fortifications and structures on Spaniardo Square. After surviving numerous sieges, the town was also damaged during World War II, but was rebuilt and incorporated into Greece in 1864. From 1386 to 1797, Corfu was ruled by Venetian nobility. Much of the city reflects this era, when the island belonged to the Republic of Venice, with multi-storied buildings on narrow lanes. The old town of Corfu has clear Venetian influence. The city was subjected to 4 notable sieges in 1537, 1571, 1573 and 1716, in which the strength of the city defences asserted itself time after time, mainly because of the effectiveness of the powerful Venetian fortifications. Writer Will Durant claimed that Corfu owed to the Republic of Venice the fact that it was the only part of Greece never conquered by the Ottomans. Those of you into nightlife and having a good time, the ultimate tribute to Madonna here tonight at 10 p.m. Lady Gaga next door, and a few yards down you have Elvis Presley. Must be a lot of private jets from Las Vegas and California here in Sideri in Corfu. All that entertainment that I've just related to you isn't impressive enough. Tonight you have Ed Sheeran, presented by Bradley Johnson, the X Factor Live finalist 2011. Ed Sheeran is here tonight as well. So how could you go wrong tonight with Elvis Presley, Lady Gaga, Madonna and Ed Sheeran all on the one strip? No matter where you go or stay in Corfu, Logas is one of the beaches you must visit. Located on the northwest corner of the island, past the beautiful village of Peroulades, it has one of the most beautiful views you will admire during your holiday, and you just can't miss it. Well, good morning, folks. It's another morning. 31 degrees, 10:55 a.m. and we're out here in a place called Strongel, which is down at the bottom of Corfu Island. It is a stunning morning to be out again. Doing a lot of driving yesterday, do a lot of driving today and tomorrow and the next day, because we have the chariot hired for 5 days. So making the best of this beautiful island. The aesthetic tradition of painting the footpaths, etc., has become an iconic and beautiful part of the Mediterranean and Greek architecture, creating a unique and clean look that is culturally significant. The mercury has hit 33 degrees and I'm here in a forest, well, in an olive grove, and I'm trying to watch where I'm putting my feet in case I step up on something that's wet and slimy, but it is so hot. No, not in Arizona. I'm in Corfu. We weren't actually looking for this particular tree. We pulled in here to have a picnic lunch in this olive grove, places that I love. And lo and behold, it was my Terra, sitting and waiting our company. You're climbing a 1,500-year-old olive tree, the Myterra. There you go. You don't forget to go anymore. Well, I'm here in an olive grove. At the site of the 1,500-year-old olive tree, the Myterra. It produces 10,000 olives, it says, every year. And harvesting starts in October, November. But the heat in here is, whew, it's pretty dense. I'm conscious of where I put my foot because I'm on sandals and no socks. Volcanic rock right around the place, so you need to be careful. But it's 34 degrees now. 34 degrees. Prasudi Beach is a long seashore filled with thick coarse sand, located 4 kilometers away from the idyllic Agio Mathios village. It boasts warm waters and a shallow seabed, making it ideal for families with children, while it is also famous for large in-sea rock formations. Gardiki Castle is a 13th century Byzantine castle on the southwestern coast of Corfu. It is the only surviving medieval fortress on the southern part of the island. It was built by a ruler of the Despotate of Epirus and was one of 3 castles which defended the island before the Venetian era, which was 1401 to 1797. The 3 castles formed a defensive triangle, with Gardiki guarding the southern parts of the island, Cassiope Castle the northeast, and Angelo Castro the northwest. The castle dates from the 13th century. It is located on a low hill near the village of Agios Mathios, which is situated at a higher elevation. The ruler responsible for the construction of the castle is not known, but it is assumed that it was built by either Michael I Comnenius or his son Michael II Comnenius, rulers of the Despotate of Epirus. Immediately to the south of the castle lies Lake Coricion, which is separated from the sea by a narrow strip of land. Walking in the footsteps of history here on the island of Corfu. This is a magnificent structure, very old, ancient, significantly big, but the amount of stonework is phenomenal, and it's all volcanic rock that this place was built with. The walls of Gardiki Castle form an octagon, and the structure features 8 strong towers decorated by rows of tiles. There are elements from an ancient structure which have been incorporated into the construction of the castle. The ancient structure was probably a fountain house. God, folks, it's 36.2 degrees here right now. 36.2 degrees. And it feels every degree of it. It's zapping the energy, and the humidity is crazy. But hey, this is what enjoying the great outdoors is all about. A different morning and a different day. 29 degrees right now. A lot of travelling to do again today, so bring it on. Angelo Castro is one of the most important fortified complexes of Corfu. It forms an acropolis that surveyed the region all the ways to the southern Adriatic, and therefore presented a formidable strategic vantage point to the occupant of the castle. Angelo Castro formed a defensive triangle with the castles of Gardiki and Cassiope, which covered Corfu's defences to the south, the northwest and northeast. The castle never fell despite frequent sieges and attempts at conquering it through the centuries, and played a decisive role in defending the island against pirate incursions during 3 sieges of Corfu by the Ottomans, significantly contributing to their defeat. During invasions, it helped shelter the local peasant population. The villagers also fought against the invaders, playing an active role in the defence of the castle. This was certainly one of the most difficult and hardest climbs and treks that we have done in our holiday life. At 32 and 33 degrees, there are hundreds of steps, and it's just straight up, up and up all the time. Even though there was shelter, it was a horrendous trek to the top, and also quite dangerous.
Now folks, to say this is quite hair-raising is probably a vast understatement, because the pathway is rough and ready.
From 1387 to the end of the 16th century, Angelo Castro was the official capital of Corfu and the seat of Provedore General del Levante, governor of the Ionian Islands and commander of the Venetian fleet, which was stationed in Corfu. The governor of the castle was normally appointed by the city council of Corfu and was chosen amongst the noblemen of the island. Angelo Castro is considered one of the most imposing architectural remains in the Ionian Islands, along with Cassiope Castle, Gardici Castle, and the two Venetian fortresses of Corfu City, the Citadel and the new fort. During excavations in 1999 by the 8th Emirate of Byzantine Antiquities of Greece, two early Christian closure slabs and other findings were unearthed at the top of the Acropolis, indicating that the site was occupied and perhaps fortified by the early Byzantine period between the 5th and the 7th century AD. The exact time of the building of the castle is not known, and there are estimates that it was built during the reign of Manuel I Comnenus or by Michael I Comnenus Ducas, also known as Michael I Angelos, the despot of Epirus, who took Corfu in 1214. His son, Michael II Angelos, further fortified the area of this castle, and there is no mention of him as the builder of the fortress. Following the takeover of Constantinople by the Crusaders in 1204, Corfu was governed by a variety of rulers, including the despots of Epirus, until 1267, when it was occupied by the Angevins of Naples. In 1272, Giordano di San Felice took ownership of the fortress on behalf of Charles I of Naples, King of the Angevins. The Angevins occupied Corfu from 1267 to 1386, and a document related to their takeover of the fortress is the earliest written record attesting to the existence of the castle. In 1386, after the violent death of King Charles III of Naples, the occupants of the castle, still loyal to Charles' successor, King Ladislas of Naples, resisted for a brief time the Venetian takeover, but the transfer of power to the Venetians occurred with virtually no loss of life. With the advent of modern warfare, the castle's importance declined and gradually it fell into a state of disrepair. The passage of time did to the castle what no aspiring conqueror could. From 1999, however, the Corfu office of the 8th Emirate of Byzantine Antiquities of Greece has undertaken a restoration program under the co-sponsorship of the Greek Ministry of Culture and the European Union. Palaiokastriza is a village in northwest Corfu. Corfu has been suggested to be the mythical island of the Phaeacians, and the Bay of Palaiokastriza to be the place where Odysseus disembarked and met Nausicaa for the first time. At Palio, towering mountains give way reluctantly to the sea, their tree-clad slopes mottled with great cliffs. Here the landscape has overwhelmed the human element, instead of the other way around. Roads end at Palio, giving a real sense of arrival. Long before the British holidaymaker first picnicked at Palio, the western headland was home to a monastery dedicated to the Virgin Mary. The original foundation was 13th century, but the present complex is mainly 18th century. A small church lies at the bone-white heart of the monastery, its walls laden with icons in chunky rococo frames. A fine painting of the Last Judgment hangs above the south doorway. Lemon trees and bougainvillea soften the hard brilliance outside, and from the garden terrace there is a breathtaking view across the Bay of Leopades to Cape Agios and onto the distant Cape Plaka. This Byzantine monastery dates back to 1228. However, the current complex, the cells of the monks and the yard, date from the 18th century. The monastery's architecture is traditional and simple, reflecting the peaceful nature of the site. The buildings are made of stone, with arched doorways and small courtyards filled with olive trees and flowers. Inside the monastery you'll find a small church with beautiful icons and frescoes. The main courtyard is a place of quiet reflection, and the gardens offer a sense of calm and tranquility. The architecture blends perfectly with the natural surroundings, making it a harmonious part of the landscape. The heart of the monastery is its church, dedicated to the Virgin Mary. The church is small and simple, but filled with beautiful religious art. The icons and frescoes are carefully preserved, offering a glimpse into the spiritual life of the monastery. Many visitors light candles and take a moment for quiet reflection inside this church. The atmosphere is peaceful, and the scent of incense fills the air, creating a truly spiritual existence.
Perhaps, folks, there is a place called heaven on earth, and I think I found it this morning here in this little monastery. Well, folks, 37.4 degrees here. 37.4 degrees. And it's blistering hot. Good Lord. Here at the extreme south of the island of Corfu, Lifkemi, to see this church, which is a historic piece of architecture, to find it closed.
The Church of Arsenius, with domed bell towers on either side of its facade. Arsenius, 1876 to 953, was the first Archbishop of Corfu. He was lionized when his efforts to dissuade Slav pirates from attacking Corfu led to the pirates imprisoning him. The outraged islanders promptly went to war against the Slavs, soundly thrashing them, and freed the pacifist archbishop. Relics of Arsenius are kept in the church. Paxos is Corfu's premier resort for loud and lively holiday making, although no one is too lively at midday thanks to late night sessions in the numerous bars and nightclubs. This is emphatically a young person's place, but its long over 2 kilometers, sandy beach, safe bathing and varied water sports makes it popular with families too. Old Paxos survives in the form of a handful of real fishing boats moored offshore. Paxos has dozens of bars, nightclubs, etc. And the first thing anyone who is looking for local colour will notice is the total absence of the Greek language on signs and billboards. But in anyone's language, the beach is still a great place to enjoy all that Mediterranean sun. The sand finally relents in the south, where low cliffs begin. Beyond are the lonelier beaches and capes. The church here on Mouse Island is called the Holy Chapel of Christ Pantocrator. It's a Byzantine chapel from the 11th or 12th century.
The large building on top of the forest is the Corfu Palace Hotel where we're staying.
Ponticonisi, or Mouse Island, is the iconic image that represents Corfu worldwide. Canoni Peninsula, it is known for the unique Byzantine chapel here at Pantocrator, dating back to the 11th century. The name Ponticonisi comes from its shape, because if someone sees it from a height, it looks like a small animal, the mouse. The villa of Montrepreux was built as a summer residence for the British Lord High Commissioner of the United States of the Ionian Islands, Frederick Adam, and his second wife, Diamantina Palacio, in 1828 to 1831, although they had to vacate the villa soon afterwards in 1832 when Adam was sent to serve in Madras in India. The neoclassical design was made by Colonel George Whitmore, who was also the architect of the Palace of St. Michael and St. George on Spingarnado Square in Corfu City, along with civil engineer J. Harper. The villa was rarely used as a residence for later British governors. Several royal births have taken place at the villa, including those of Princess Sophie of Greece and Denmark on the 26th of June 1914, Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, the husband of Queen Elizabeth II, on the 10th of June 1921, and Princess Alexia of Greece and Denmark on the 10th of July 1965. Philip was born on the dining room table. After the union with Greece in 1864, the villa and the gardens were gifted to King George I of the Hellenes as a summer residence. He renamed it Mon Repos, French for my rest. The Greek family used it as a summer residence up until King Constantine II fled the country in 1967. The villa subsequently became derelict, but was restored in the 1990s. Additionally, Mon Repos hosted prime ministers, kings and princes from Spain and the United Kingdom. It is said that the guest house, which is a second building next to the main villa, was named Tito, after the leader of former Yugoslavia. The villa was confiscated under controversial circumstances some years ago after the declaration of the Third Hellenic Republic in 1974. Its confiscation and the confiscation of other property of the deposed and exiled King Constantine II, without any compensation, led to a court case in the European Court of Human Rights. Corfu is still the Garden Isle of Greece. It delights with its natural beauty, its glorious beaches, its good food and its choice of nightlife. Yet Corfu's rich heritage adds much more to a holiday experience, with its dramatic history as a Mediterranean paradise shaped by Byzantine, Roman and Venetian cultures, and later by French and British influences, a crossroad of East and West that has remained essentially Greek at heart.